Okay, taboo question about divorced pastors.
Oh boy.
Boy, did you open a can of worms when you did that.
Well, yeah, divorce is tough. Those that might be watching and have divorced friends or they themselves are divorced know that divorce is very painful and brokenness is exposed, and whether it's through adultery or abandonment or abuse or whatever that is, that you discover how much God hates divorce. But what's your question about divorce? I mean,
Well,
I'm not
shouldn't
really
you have been
prepared,
able to run towards the church instead of being shunned from the church?
In an ideal world, yeah. In a spiritual world, yeah. But the church very often is a religious world. It's a Pharisaical world. It's a world of rules and regulations. It's a world of doctrine. And, people's hurts don't really fit into those doctrines a lot of time. And so yeah, I found that there's a lot of judgment. And, I think I was surprised that all of those words that Jesus says about casting the first stone, he who has no sin cast the first stone, at the woman who was caught in the very act of adultery and should have been stoned, according to the law of the day. And I discovered that rather than Jesus disarmed those people. Those people put down their rocks. But I think that in a lot of places that I've been, people pick up a box of rocks and, are ready to, throw them rather virulently at those that don't measure up in their own eyes.
So I guess they weren't taught correctly?
I don't know if it's, it's just that, when you look at somebody else's sin, you feel better maybe when you look at their sin than looking at your own sin. And maybe that's why Jesus said, stop looking at the speck in somebody else's eye and look at the log in your own eye. I don't know if that's it or not, but that seems to happen a lot.
Well, I think some people think that you were in leadership position to get a divorce, and which made it even more difficult to proceed with what you felt was necessary.
I don't do well with trying to think what other people are thinking. I know what goes on inside of me. And I remember I was sitting on in a worship service on the boardwalk in the pavilion at Ocean Grove, which is, for those of you who don't know, is down the Jersey Shore. And it's a beautiful summer day, and I'm in the midst of my going through divorce, and the Lord tells me to look outside the pavilion, and there's all kinds of people out there. There was a gay couple holding hands walking down the boardwalk. There was this old guy that was picking cans out of a garbage can. There were a couple of babes that were running down the boardwalk in their bikinis, bouncing down the boardwalk, and then the Lord said, "Look at these people inside the pavilion worshiping," and they were wonderful people. They were singing songs and they were praising God, and the Lord spoke in my heart and said, "What's the difference between them?" And I didn't know how to answer that, and I told the Lord that I don't know. And He said, "Well, the ones inside the pavilion think they're well, and the ones they think the ones outside the pavilion are sick. But in reality, we're all sick." Jesus said, "I didn't come to heal the well. I came to heal the sick. And as long as we don't think we're sick, Jesus can't heal us." And so there's this ongoing process of healing and us being healed and healing one another. And when we stop doing that, I think we fall into the trap of judging somebody else's sickness or their sin.
So that's what the church is doing, to giving not a clear understanding of who they are. That
I don't know. You're better at that than I am. I can't say what the church is doing. I don't know what the church is doing half the time. I just know that Jesus is very clear about judgment, and that we see a lot of judgment going on. Somebody falls in some way, what we call falling into sin or falling into some crime or some. Somebody once told me that I would have been better off murdering my wife than divorcing her, because in relative to the church, because the church would forgive me of that, murder, would come and visit me in prison, and when I got out, they would restore me and let me preach in a church. They would let me be a pastor. But they won't do that with divorce. And so we have this, all kinds of things are going on in the church that I don't really know how to answer.
So there's
that.
a degree of sin.
Yeah, we're all sinners.
But there's a degree of it.
What do you mean?
So you would have been better off murdering her than as opposed to divorcing her? Where are we going with this one?
No, I'm just saying that's what somebody said to me. And I don't know if that, I know that there's a truth in that. I just, it's not just about divorce. It's about this thing that goes on inside of us that we don't see, that Jesus is concerned about me. He's concerned about you. He's concerned about each of us. And when I start being concerned about your sin more than my own, I'm already in trouble. Jesus hates, as much as he hates divorce, he hates judgment. He just hates judgment. And so that's all I know.
So that's a sin too.
Of course. But that's all I know.
Okay.